here is Pamela Hamilton. She's from Maryland, and I'm from Georgia. And believe it or not, we met a couple of years ago. We had tables next to each other. And then the rest, is history.
Sort
I've been collecting Fenton for about 25 or 30 years. I met John Walk in Nashville, Tennessee. And my wife was collecting that stuff on QVC like so many women do. And I saw all his stuff and went, oh, wow. And I talked to him at length, and he sold me a book and signed it. And then, of course, he was always available. Anytime I needed to know anything, dumb questions about crimps and sizes and all that. And let's see, about 2010, a good friend of mine said, after I had a whole bunch of junk, she said, why don't you start collecting those hats? You have so many. I had a lot of the small, and I always loved the smooth brim. About 90% of the smooth brim were made in the 30s and maybe early 40s. Biggest thing about these things, I started collecting the French spiral optic. And all of a sudden I started measuring this right here. This is 9-inch. Then I had a 10-inch. Then I had 11. And then I had a 6-inch high. And then I had a 5-inch high. And how can I get all of them? Like all collectors, you want to get all of them. So I finally I talked to Les, and he said, look in the butterfly net, there's an article about that. So I looked back in July of 1986, a man by the name of Terry Keith. Does anybody here happen to know him? Crickets, okay. But nobody seems to know him, and I can't get a hold of him. I tried, trying to find him and all that, and couldn't find him. But he wrote an article in the butterfly net saying about hats, and he knew there was 4 sizes, and he speculated that there was a 5th size. But he also led me down the path. It's the base diameter. There's a 2.5-inch, a 3.5-inch, a 5-inch, a 5.5-inch, and the 6 3/4-inch, which is the big hopper. But he speculated that he just thought they might have made the 6 3/4. But now I've collected a whole bunch of them, and yes, they did make them. Many sellers always just got to measure this hat size here. Oh, that's 11-inch. And you see that in books even. Oh, this is a 9-inch hat and all that.
And the height as well.
And the 6-inch. They always got to say a 6. And you know how they always have to embellish the size. That makes it, more saleable. Oh, that's 11.5-inch piece, But it's just that base diameter. There's 5 sizes, and that's it. Okay, the green spiral optic hats, which I have all of them here, they were made in 1937, and they do glow.
Yeah. Does anybody happen to have a black light? Because I forgot mine, and
I just have a little.
Well, if we tell you it glows, it glows. But I forgot my black light. Do you have one, Stephen?
A little tiny one.
That's all right.
Anyway, it does glow. It's got uranium in it.
Anyway, they glow. Everybody knows what the glow is. My bad. I forgot my black light.
Anyway, most hats have a base color, which is, that's like that green. And then the optics, that's when they put it in the optic mold, and that's where they come up with the white color. That is the optic, or the dots, or whatever. We start with the smallest size, which is the 2.5-inch base. That's pretty common. That's made from the mold number 1924, which is not year 1924. That's factory number 1924. I thought that for a long time. Surely it must have been made in 1924. Well, it wasn't. Fenton made creamers, the 1924 creamer, which I have a bunch of. And they also made the little hat basket and the hat. There he is.
If you look, the base. So if you picture this as just being straight up, they just put a little lip on it and a handle, and the hat's crimped down, but it's the same shape. And here is the basket in the same shape. Again, the size. It's the base size. Same shape. And I didn't know that either.
Well, what I'm trying to get forward to everybody.
Charlie has a question.
No question. just gonna tell everybody that the NFGS owns that mold.
There you go.
The 1920. I'm gonna have to get access to that.
They own
someday,
this
some
mold
way.
that makes this piece, 1924. Yeah, we verified that with Charlie. Yep.
I have about 60 or 70 of those creamers. That was a collection once upon a time. of
Yeah.
Creamers.
That's pretty cool too.
But what I really want to sell is to everybody that it's base diameter. When you're selling it, when you're
Yes.
buying it, whatever, it's
That's
base
what matters.
diameter. That's the important thing. Okay, there's the basket. You got that.
Yep.
The next size up is the 3.5-inch base. That is made from mold number 1923. As the hat sizes get bigger, the mold number gets smaller. It actually goes down right up with it. They also made a large creamer.
The base.
Same thing. It really is self-explanatory. When you see that, you say, "Oh, that's what they did."
Yeah.
But when they didn't have to buy a bunch of mold, they start off with a
Yeah.
tube.
And this was made when? 1980s?
That's it. Yes, that was made in the 80s, but it's still the same 1923 mold.
80s and the late 1930s.
They also made a basket in that one too, but I didn't bring it with me because they break too easy.
Right.
Stripes, okay. Next we have the 5-inch base size. This was made from the mold 1922. If anything, when you get into the bigger ones, this is kind of like the common one. And it's real hard to tell the difference between it and the next size. I do own a basket with this 5-inch base, but I'm not going to travel with that. That's just, that big old hoop sticking up there, and you know how those handles break anyway.
And they're rare. So.
And of course, you don't pick up a basket by the handle. I guess everybody knows that. Hopefully not the hard way like
You
me.
should.
I think it's the difference in the temperature of the glass. By the time they get the handle all the way over there, sometimes they don't quite stick to it. I had a coin dot 10-inch, big old proud one, and I picked it up by the handle like I shouldn't, and you can hear the, so, put that one back in the tote.
I have another comment if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Years ago at the factory, I was in a conversation with Tom Fenton, and I mentioned that to him that we don't use the handles. He said, "Well, what are the handles for?"
Who said that? Him?
Tom Fenton.
Oh, well, he didn't make the glass, so he didn't know, right?
Well, when you collect it and then you'll throw it away, you ain't gonna glue it back.
Yeah.
Of course, we want to put it on the shelf and you're the only one gonna know that. Next size up is the 5.5-inch base, which I really don't know why they made it so it's so easily confused with the 5-inch. But it is a much bigger base, and I think the 5-inch is much more common. But you almost have to have them side by side if you don't really know it to tell the difference.
You can see.
But you know how us collectors are. We got to measure everything and all that kind of stuff. To the best of my knowledge, that is the only thing that Fenton used that 5.5 mold for. Maybe they did something else with it, but I don't think they had a 5.5-inch base on a basket. Did they? Anybody know? Okay, maybe I know more than everybody else. Okay. All right, the last size is the big mama. That is the 6 3/4
This
inch.
is the
base.
one everybody puts on their head.
Yeah.
That's
She looks good, doesn't she?
That's a biggie.
Yeah.
Which basket did they use for Rosso? Which size? With the Daisy and Fern? Would it have been that middle one, or would it have been the one she's got in her hand? Because they made baskets out of the huge Daisy and Fern and the dot optic and the coin dot.
I think that's the 5-inch.
Yeah, it's probably not this one.
You say
Okay.
it's huge. I think it's one that had the big hoop up on the handle real high.
Yeah, but the basket itself, the vase itself is sizable, and I was wondering if it was the 5.5-inch. I don't have one with me, but
That's a whole trick all the time. Just get out your ruler and measure
Okay.
that bottom.
Get
Okay.
out your ruler and measure it. Yeah, the base.
Randy had a piece of glass there the other day. He said, "You think that was made into a hat?" I could look all day long, but pull out the ruler, and this particular one was 6 1/4.
Okay.
So it wasn't a 5.5, it wasn't 6 3/4, so that
Okay.
probably did not come out of that, the big mold or the next smaller one.
okay.
You know that's how this Fenton. You know how this Fenton goes. You know, never say never.
That's
By
it.
the time you said, "Well, they didn't make that," the guy said, "Well, I got one right
That's
here."
it. Every time.
As we all know.
Every time.
All right, did we do the last one? Yes, we did
Yep.
the last one. Okay. In addition to the green opalescent spiral optic hat shown here, the other color and optics which I have completed, all 5 of them,
He's
in the
got all
smooth
5.
rim hats are the blue spiral optic. I have all 5 of those. Then comes the cranberry spiral optic, which actually I ended up finding that big one was tough, but I finally got that one. Next comes the French opalescent coin spot. And pretty well all of those except for the little one was kind of hard to come by. Of course, Fenton called that dot optic, and we all know that's coin spot. That's what most collectors call that.
So again, to repeat, the ones we're showing you, he has all 5 of them in the set completed. It was too much glass to bring, so we brought the small one just to show as an example. But it's all 5 sizes. That's pretty cool.
And pretty tough also.
Yeah.
I went through some big auctions. Yeah.
Okay, couple of questions. Do you have a preference on size? In other words, is there any size particular you really favor?
The big one, the 6 3/4. That is the hardest to come of all of them.
Okay. The other question is the optics. Is there any optic in particular that you favor?
The optic I favor is probably going to have to be ring optic. The ring is, I have a huge collection of ring optic. And actually the other one is the block optic, which is a ring optic with little separations in it. But the ring optic, when I seen this, I had a heart attack. I didn't know they made that, you know. And you know how the feeling is. You know, oh, you know, I gotta have that. You know? And then some booger over there trying to outbid you.
Yeah, you're
You got more
usually
money
the
than you got. we all been there.
Becky said you're usually the booger.
Well, I try to be.
He is if he wants something. Figure on,
Yeah, what?
figure on that one.
And all that?
Yep.
Oh, okay. French opalescent spiral optic. This is basically the one I started with. Probably the most common. That's one led me down the path to find out what the size of these darn things are. And then we get into French opalescent rib optic.
So if I can say something,
Yep.
the ribs go just to point it out. The ribs go straight down, and the spiral. So it's kind of interesting. I didn't know all this either until I, wasn't that familiar with it at all. But I think that's pretty cool.
Getting into that rib optic, I have all the sizes of the cranberry rib optic except for that big one. That's the one I was alluding. I don't even know if they made it. When you get into these things and start searching for them, you don't know till you find it. And I haven't found it yet. Maybe Helen can find it for me. Okay, anybody has that hat, let me know. We'll talk. Okay.
Does anybody have any questions so far?
Okay, I have many other colors and optics in the smooth rim hats in various sizes, but I've not completed the sets in all 5 sizes. I'm thinking some of them weren't made in all 5 sizes, but you can only speculate on that. I have 58 total smooth rim hats right now. And every once in a while, I have the 3 big sizes of block optic. The block optic is just like the ring optic, only it's got separations in the rings. And I suspect they didn't make it in the 2 smaller sizes. That was only made in 1938, 39 as part of their special opalescent series. Okay, well, we get down to bases. This is the shape that they came out of the mold. Like the 1924 mold, that's the shape.
So this is how it came out of the mold, and then this.
The
Same.
brim size is determined by how far the helper sticks it back in the glory hole.
Yeah.
You can only bend it, when the glass gets hot enough, then you can bend it over for the edge, for the rim, or for the,
Yeah, they heat it, they reheat it, and then flip these ends down to make the hat. So
And I have it in the cranberry, and then we have it in the French. and I have it in the blue. So that's the 1924. That's the 1923. No, 22, and that's the 23. I asked David one time, I said, "Is this a hat?" He said, "No, that's a vase." You know how, and the way he says it, he looks at you and like, "Why don't you know that?" You know? We someday are going to miss that abundance of knowledge. Anytime I want to really know something, you hear a rumor, ask him. He says, "No, we didn't do that." Okay, that's the vices. Okay, we'll just see. Pardon?
Special.
Oh, okay, yeah, the special ones. These are the ones that are, as I consider the rarest of the rare. If you have one, then you count yourself very lucky. We start off with the mulberry. That was made in 1942. And of course, they had trouble regulating the color of that, striking it. And that there's a pretty good one.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started, I passed up buying one of those because it was too expensive. But later on, it was really expensive, but I had to have it, you know?
And mention about they only made it for a short period of time.
Yeah, that was only made in 1942 or 43, something like
No,
that.
42.
42.
1942 mulberry.
And the diamond optic.
For like 6 months, right?
Wow.
Something like that. And then they quit because the color didn't get a good strike when they were making the color.
I've seen those from kind of like a light pink to almost a brown. Okay. They did reissue that mulberry, of course, in the 80s, and I think they had the color pretty well regulated there.
Did they do some in the 90s too?
1988, then about 1996, they did the formula again.
Got it.
And when you have the mulberry, you know, a lot of times it looks purple. If you invert it and you look through it, a lot of times around the face, you'll see some blue.
Yeah.
And you'll know right away, that's mulberry.
That's mulberry. Yeah, it's beautiful how it gradiates. So.
And then, speaking of rare ones, I have a green rib optic.
And it glows again. I pardon that I didn't bring my light, but all these ones that have uranium in them, they glow like really good. So.
And then next, of course, one I would almost dare say there might not be another one of those. This is topaz rib optic.
Wow.
Do I get by with that? Is there another one, Les?
I've seen.
Okay. That thing, there again, when I started collecting, some of these I had in my collection. I had no idea that they were super rare. Till all of a sudden you start trying to complete this stuff and you say, "Holy cow, I got that." And then let's see, the next one is a rib optic cranberry. And this was satinized, which I think is kind of special. But they tell me that they, when they had a screw up on a piece, that they could hide it by satinizing it. And I think that was true all the way to the last.
Yeah.
And it gives a good effect. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
I have a huge cranberry coin dot made into a lamp, and it was satinized. It's a big, huge one. And it's a very special look. Okay, next one would be the ivory crest.
And this glows so good.
Yes, that is the true uranium, made in 1941. That came up, and the man that had it, of course, he knew what he had. So I had to pay for that one. That one actually came out of Marietta, Ohio. The seller, that's where he's from. And I had a lot of ivory crest in the past, but I have no idea they made the smooth rim. Then next comes the dot smooth art, fine dot, I call this. I think that's the predecessor of polka dot. Polka dot, yes. And when you look at the bottom of it, it reminds me of the Jamestown with all the little itty bitty circles without the opalescent, the Jamestown clear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So who knows how they evolved, but that sure does look like a polka dot. You find that occasionally, and it's not really highly sought after or anything, but when you look at it and then look in the book, he says that was made sometime in the 30s. At the beginning, there again, they made their special opalescent series in 1938, and I'm sure a lot of experimentation was going on. The next one comes up is the green overlay. This was
Wow.
made in the 30s. With, believe it or not, it had a matching cane. I've never seen the cane, But John Walk says in his book that the records indicate it was made with a cane. And I verified this morning in talking to Les that he's seen the cane before.
You have. Cool.
You're the first person I've talked to. I've asked a bunch of people. No idea what it is. Is it just that straight green?
It's got like a core in it. Looks like a built plastic.
Who's got it so we can go get it? I'm just kidding.
All right, this
She's
color is
just
not to be
being serious.
confused with the green overlay that they made from 48 to 53. And when you set one next to it, it's a completely different color. This is unbelievably hard to find. All this stuff here is. When you start collecting, you know how it is, always those hard to find ones. Next one coming up is peach blow. I have a friend who a lot of people know I'm a hat collector. So he was out garage sailing down in Kansas City. And he sent me a picture. He said, Richard, you want this? I said, yes, buy it. So he bought it and ended up sending it to me. That's your peach blow.
Still got the old sticker in it too.
Wow.
And that was they made peach blow in 1939. And that's just really the predecessor of the peach crest, which they flooded the market with later on. Let's see, I think you get that out of order. Next.
Yeah.
Now, okay, next one coming up is the ring optic. This is the 5.5 inch. And I saw this at a sale. I have a lot of ring optic, but I had no earthly idea they made it in a smooth rim half. Of course, cost is no object. I gotta have that. I'm that guy,
Good to know.
Well, you probably already know that, don't you? And the next one comes up. This is also part of the special opalescent series, the wide rib. And this is the big one, the 6 3/4. That is extremely rare. There's a few of them out there, but the market isn't flooded with those. That's the only size I have in the wide rib optic hat. Now, I do have some bowls and other vases in the wide rib optic. But they're all this stuff is experimental, so there wasn't a whole lot of. Yes, no documentation, all 5 pictures. Nick, the next one. Okay, now comes the best one. This, to me, it is very nondescript,
Yeah.
crystal. The 6 3/4. It has the optics, but it was done with crystal glass. It didn't have any heat sensitive glass in it to give the lines. You can feel the inside. It was put in the optic mold. I got that from Richard Spate, and he said he thinks it might possibly be a one of a kind. He said they always used to have a crystal pot laying around, so they experimented. That was cheap stuff, so they made this happen. Now they're real proud to get it. It didn't even have any competition because nobody likes clear, do they? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is Crystal. This is the same hat as this one. And I don't really, maybe you can hold this up. Just to explain to anybody new here what the optics are. Just explain that.
Oh, okay.
Optics are in here, you can see, because that's in the mold. But in that, it comes out with the opalescence because they had put pot ash in when they made it, and that's what makes the opalescence. So that forms around in the optic, and I thought that was really interesting. So here's a blank with, you can see the optics, but that's how it comes out. Same identical hat, but colored with the optics.
Yes, it was put in the optic mold, but it didn't have that heat sensitive glass to turn it white. It was just all clear glass, so that came out that. And it might be a boring piece of glass, but it's one of my favorites.
Yes.
Okay, I think I guess that's pretty well done. And I guess main thing I gotta say is measure that base. You don't have a 6-inch hat. You don't have a 12-inch hat. You got one of those 5 sizes: the 2.5, the 3.5, the 5, the 5.5, and the 6 3/4. Question, Liz?
That big banded red vase you bought, did that come from one of those molds? Did you measure the base?
Mm-hmm.
Is it from one of those?
Is it
from
the big,
one of
ma-
those?
the
Is
big
it the
mandarin
1920
red
mold?
face?
Did it
The
come
one-
out of that?
The one I just bought you, me?
Yes.
It's 6 1/4. It
No,
was
it's-
not one of these.
Okay.
Randy pulled me up there and he said, "Is this a hat?" And I said, "Let's get a ruler." That makes you an expert because 5 and a half to 6 1/4, that's too far. It's not going to stretch that far. And 6 3/4 down to 6 1/4, it's not going to be shrunk that much. But that, just get out the ruler and you'll know what size the hat is. Always remember, sellers lie. They lie some too. They're not supposed to.
No,
but-
they don't.
Oh, okay.
Some of them
I'm
do.
sorry. They don't.
Not all of them.
Of course they don't.
But I'll just say it again that is the standard. That's if you have any hats, measure them. So that is the standard. And I watch a lot of auctions online and stuff like that, and they're all the time measuring the height and the width, and you get all these different. And that's what led him down again to repeat the path of, well, let me measure this, and found that because you can have 10 different measurements from the same thing depending on how much this has been stretched or if it's a little bit taller. But if you do the base, that's what makes it consistent. So we're really pushing and to try to get this out to make it, the standard for the hats, and it makes it so much easier. It really does. It's either a 2.5 inch or whatever they are. So that's what the hats are. So.
I got Randy and I got Jim Rohn convinced now that they're starting to advertise them as such.
Yeah.
And it's just going to take a time and talk to y'all about this so you'll know, hey, that's a 3-inch hat, 3.5 inch hat, or whatever it is. Measure the base.
5 size.
I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope y'all enjoyed it too.
Yes.
Thanks for the family for my
Maybe 2 questions now.
Do you collect anything besides the smooth rim? Do you do the ruffled?
I don't do any of the ruffle because I'm accused of doing it, but that's new stuff.
Gotcha.
I most of my stuff that I would actually go after would be almost at the most 1940, maybe
Okay.
1950. I do have Teal Royale. I like that one, and I've saved the Crackle. I have all.
So none of the coin dot?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of coin dot.
Oh, okay.
But the coin dot there again is the older stuff.
Right. Okay.
I've got all of the Crackle, but once I completed all the Crackle they made and all the lines, it's not no fun to collect them. I don't even hardly ever look at it,
Oh, good.
Oh, and I also saved creams. I got that 1924 creamer.
He's got a million of them.
I've got about 60 or 70 of those, and there's still 3 or 4 out there, and I still find them every once in a while. Where here's one I don't have.
Just mentioned at Dexter City, the rarity that they had at Dexter City, they had, what was the base?
It was a 3.5.
It was a 3.5, so it would have been this, right?
Yeah.
Made it into a creamer, and he got outbid because when it got up to like what?
$1,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
I said, I don't do
It had a
that.
very different handle in it.
Yeah.
And somebody, I got up, I think I bid 900.
So it was
I thought,
a
Richard,
big
what are you doing?
Yeah.
It really wasn't the creamer that I saved, but I do have a few of the other little bit bigger ones. So I
And it had a mosaic handle on it too.
oh yeah, they had a
So,
Oh.
yeah. But man, that's really getting up there. So.
Yes.
I have a horror story.
Okay.
My brother has one of the white ones. I think it's the
Spiral optic.
Yes, it is white. And this is back in the 70s. And he decided to make it a planter. And I remember seeing it in this kitchen window and this beautiful plant. And then all of a sudden the plant was dead and there was this god awful brown in it. And so I just texted him to see if he still has that and to take a picture of it so I can and have him measure to see which size it is.
Oxalic acid you put in there and they'll take that stain away.
Say that again.
Oxalic acid. It sounds real bad and all this. One time I had a contract to paint a school ceiling, and it was all wood beams, and they got in a train wreck, and they got watermarks on them. So as coppers, people were making the wood ceiling, and I said, I can't get on that. You've got to put something going around here. So we use oxalic acid.
Spell that for me.
Oxalic. It's a very, very mild acid. Nurses buy it in the drugstore to get blood out of their uniforms. It's just a very, very mild bleach. You can take it and put it on a piece of wood that's dark, aged and got dark, and it makes it look like a brand new piece of wood. In fact, all wood is already started turning. You don't know until you put it on there. Because we tried to wash like part of the ceiling, I mean, the rest of the ceiling looked bad, so we had to wash the whole entire ceiling, about 100,000 square foot of ceiling with oxalic acid. But that takes out all kinds of stains.
Good to know.
It's
Thank
worth
you.
a try, and it doesn't hurt the glass.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I hope he still has it.
Well, the French spiral optic is somewhat common.